Welcome back to part two, or part II of Cup of Tea with Geo Gonzo. Gonzo's the first time I've ever done a part two to a show.
It is, isn't it? Uncharted territory.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's your fault because you had to leave early last night. So you are to blame for us having to commit 2 evenings in a row, our viewers and listeners having to commit 2 evenings in a row. It's all your fault.
I think they'll be all right. They won't mind, maybe, hopefully.
Well, we'll find out. I'm sure they'll let us know. Anyway, so this show, if you haven't seen part one of Cup of Tea with Gio and Gonzo, the link is in the description. It'll also be at the end of this video if you want to go check out. But you don't have to check out because this show sort of got its own questions and answers. So you can watch this without seeing part one, if that makes sense. So, Gonzo, are you ready to crack on? Dive straight into some questions?
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
Well, it's our friend. We're talking to the Twitter people first. Our friend Graham Taylor 5 on Twitter says, at the price has been banded about, i.e. £20 million per player for the likes of Kesai, do you think we will sign one centre midfielder or two this summer? And do you think we need more than one?
I don't think we need more than one. No, I think Noble's had a renaissance, hasn't he? Noble's become a Pirlo in the last 2 or 3 games, certainly the last couple of months. So there was much talk when Pellegrini came in what would happen to Noble, and I think you and I both agreed that actually we thought that Noble would probably flourish under Pellegrini's tutelage because of the style of football that he plays. So he's certainly a mainstay. We've had a surprising midfielder this season in Declan Rice. I don't think too many of us thought that Declan Rice would be the holding midfielder this season. I think we hoped he'd be involved. I think we probably thought he might be the choice at centre back. So you've got 2 additional midfielders there. You've got obviously Jack Wilshere, who we hope is going to come back and do well. And depending on what position we play, if Lanzini's playing as a number 10, then maybe technically he's a midfielder as well. So I think just one. I think one will do it. Plus, we don't know what's going to happen with Fernandes, of course.
I think we need 1.5, one to replace Obiang, well, half to replace Obiang, and one an upgrade. I think this is our second sort of most important position after the striker position in the summer. It was the most important, but I think with Lanzini back, Wilshere back, the pressure's come off a little bit in terms of finding a centre mid. But it would be annoying to go into about the 5th season in a row. I think when we're all sitting here going, we need another centre midfielder, mate. You know, it's been a while, so let's get it sorted. But I'll say 1.5. Fernandes is an interesting shout actually because everybody assumed his move to Fiorentina would go ahead. It hasn't. He's come back to West Ham, or he's coming back to West Ham, and will he get a chance in pre-season? I mean, I hope he does. I remember when we loaned him out, I said to you, he's sort of Jack Wilshere's replacement, if you like, and I was frustrated not to see him here. And of course, we've got Josh Cullen, who's came out and said, I want to be at West Ham next year, and he's involved with this semi-final playoffs. If you're watching it tomorrow night, Friday night, Charlton are on. Josh Cullen's obviously been a big part of that, and Lee Bowyer's described him as not only the best player in League One this season, he said that Josh Cullen's better than he was at that age. And now Lee Bowyer was a decent player when he was that age, back in the Leeds squad, etc., in Newcastle and all that. So that's interesting comments from his manager. So tune in to watch Josh Cullen tomorrow night. Steve, the Sullis, says Chinese or fish and chips?
Oh, Steve, I think it's Chinese, actually. I've got to say, the older I've got, fish and chips gives me a bit of indigestion. I don't mind. You know, like you get a cone. You know, like a cone. You know, like one of Madonna's bras. Just one, not 2. That's too much chips. I don't mind. Like, but down the seaside, chips, a lot of vinegar, a lot of salt. The whole big plate of fish and chips is a little bit much for me, mate. I do like Chinese. Chinese is good food. Bloody good food. Yeah, Chinese, mate.
Chinese for me as well, there's no doubt about it. Rudy says the same thing. He cheats. Insurance number. Alan. He says he repeats himself. Good to meet you on the boats. And then he says, it seems to change every week, but who do you want as left back next season? Creswell, Masuaku, or a new signing? So we sort of touched on this last night. I said hold off because there's a question coming. So here's the question.
I'll go for Aaron Masuaku.
What does that mean? Change every week?
I don't know. I changed my mind just like everybody else. We discussed this last night on the original, the branded cup of tea that we did, not this Mickey Mouse thing we're doing now. We discussed the the ability to change one's mind. And yeah, I think Masuaku finished the season quite strongly, didn't he? So if we had one more game, if there was a 39th game and we had to pick a team for tomorrow and we were playing, I think most of us, if we were picking our 11, would put Masuaku at left back. But things change. You know, Masuaku has a ricket. Cresswell comes in, puts a couple of really nice crosses over. He does do a nice delivery, doesn't he, Cresswell? A bit more solid at the back. And all of a sudden, Cresswell's everybody's favourite. Maybe we just need to buy somebody that's better than both of them.
Do you know something? I would still sell Masuaku this summer. You're right. If there was a 39th game, I'd be saying play Masuaku. But that's because of his form. And he's not a left back. I think we've seen that for more than a season now. For 2 seasons now, we've been looking at him and going, he's not a left back. I thought Cresswell's had a good season. For some reason, everybody seems happy to sell Cresswell this summer. I thought he's done all right. And, you know, he got that injury away to Newcastle. But before that, he was arguably our best performing player for a couple of games and stuff. So, yeah, I'm still sort of in the Aaron Cresswell camp, if you like. And I think Masuaku's come in and played well. And a bit like Ogbonna, I think he's maybe sort of become a bit more appealing to players who are maybe teams that are maybe looking at them in the last few games. For both of them, I think those clubs have gone, actually, you know what, we will go for this guy now. He's maybe whacked a couple of £1 million onto his price as well. And I think we'd be savvy to cash in on him should the cash come. I think he'd be quite pricey, actually, Masuaku. I think we'd get a decent fee for him. So I would say Cresswell, but I'm happy to twist with a new Pellegrini signing, if you like, because there's a question later on about who makes your, like, what's your first names on the team sheet. I'll tell you something, the spine's done. It's the fullbacks. I'd say about 8. You'd write 8 names down. And 2 of the 3 that you don't write down are your right and left back. And that's a big concern. All you have to do is look at the clubs that are in and around us, how good their fullbacks are. Ours aren't as good. Leicester, Everton, ours aren't as good as theirs. And that's a little bit of a problem for me. Joe, but his Twitter tag is at Joel Alexi29. He says
he's got 2 Joes, at Joe.
No, it's at Joel Alexi29.
Oh.
But his name's Alex.
Well, he's very, very complicated and confusing, Joel, Alex.
Yeah, but it's whatever. But anyway, he says, would you be happy if we sold Rice for £60 million to replace him with 2, maybe 3 players who would fill our squad better?
No, I wouldn't, is the short answer. I'm not up for selling Rice at all, and certainly not for 60 million. When Rice goes, and he will, by the way, it's going to be for Van Dijk money or more. And I think almost the worst thing we could do is dilute a player of Rice's pedigree and quality and get 2, you know, get 2 who are half as good each. No, not for me. He really is a superstar in the making. Do I think he's up there with De Jong, who's going to Barcelona from Ajax? No, not quite. But in terms of breaking up the play, in terms of what he does, there ain't too many better than Declan Rice in the Premier League. And what we're going to do, get somebody else in that is a lot better than most other players in the Premier League? We just won't. So I'm sticking with Declan.
That's 60 million is far too low. I'm sort of the mindset every player's got a price, but Rice and 60 million is just not his price. Irish Tommy at Tomster36 says, how many of our starting 11 actually need to be replaced?
Our starting 11?
Yeah, let's just take the 11 that played against Watford, because that's as close to we're going to get to our strongest.
Well, I think Zabaleta. I think you would not want to start the season with him as our first choice right back. I like the centre backs. I like the keeper. Left back we've just discussed. Arnie, I don't think there's an awful lot needed to change that team. Antonio's really played himself into fantastic form, and he's back to the player that the opposition defences will fear for all the attributes that we describe on an almost weekly basis on here. Charlie aside, of course, he's a real threat. Opposition managers will look at a West Ham team sheet and they'll be saying to their left back, look, you're really going to have to be switched on here. He's going to run off you. If he doesn't drive past you, he's going to try and get into the middle. He was probably very, very hard player to mark, Mikel Antonio, because even if you do manage to stick tight to him, he'll still beat you with pace and strength, less if he hasn't drifted into the middle. So are we desperate? to do something there. Yarmolenko's going to come back. Anderson really like him. Lanzini's back. I think it's just a striker. And as we discussed in the cup of tea last night, Geo was suggesting that Arnautovic falls between the margins positionally, and I completely agree. So if we're going to get any of these strikers, and we've been linked to three of the same today, then Arnautovic doesn't get in there. So yeah, maybe the right back of Arnautovic possibly.
I would say both fullback, striker, and a centre midfielder. I still think we're missing that engine. But he used the word replacing. I wouldn't use that word. I would use the word upgrading, if you like, because they're not bad. They're not. If we started this season with any of the players we've currently got in that position, I wouldn't be dead against it, for example. I'm not scared, if you know what I mean. So upgrading slightly. That Iron Hammer 26 says, what brand of tea and biscuits are your favourite?
Well, I've got Yorkshire tea at the moment in the old cup. What a giant cup that is. I mean, it's a massive cup. All the other ones were in the dishwasher, so I've gone with a giant one. That's Yorkshire tea. Very strong. I don't know if I could tip that. No, I can't. I'll tip it over the laptop. That'd be bad. But it's very strong. Biscuits is a tough one. Again, I'm sort of off the wheat a little bit at the moment, so I'm off the biscuits. But I do like a malted milk biscuit. They're plain, but I like them. I like a malted milk biscuit.
I'm PG Tips and hobnob for me. I hobnob with the chocolate hobnob though. I like that. The hobnobs are sort of the elite biscuit, I think. But I do like a caramel wafer, my old Scottish Tunnocks brand. I do like a caramel wafer.
Are they Scottish Tunnocks?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll fight you for this, but I'm pretty sure they are.
Ah, no, you can have them. I don't think I'll bother. I won't bother if I'd have known. I wouldn't have had them.
Yeah.
Tunnocks tea cakes and all that.
yeah, quite. Hey. Yeah, one of them. Back to the left back. Ed at Swoop Wing says, one's got to go. Creswell or Masuaku?
We just did this, didn't we?
But who would you sell if you had to sell one? You never.
Oh, did I not? Sorry. Yeah, no, I'd have to sell Masuaku because my son's favourite player is Aaron Cresswell. I'd be, I've got to be. I'd be a bad dad if I sold Aaron Cresswell.
Good cop out. Well done. But I'll say Masuaku because I think Creswell's the better left back. Maybe not the better footballer. I think he's the better left back. Tony Close at Tony Close 3. Now that's a Twitter handle to have, isn't it? Just your actual name with a number on the end of it. That's a bit easier to read out than all this random vowels placed here and there. He says, "What is your ideal centre back pairing?" Now I think we all know the answer to that: Balbuena and Diop, right? Then he says, "Where does Winston Reid fit into it?"
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't fit into it at all. He comes on and fights Ogbonna for a place on the bench, I would imagine. It's tough. It's going to be tough for Winston. I mean, he's not at the age that you can stick him out on a loan for a bit to try and get him back up to fitness. Maybe somebody might come in for him. I don't think they would because he's been out for too long. We don't even know if he's going to function anymore. But people shouldn't forget
he is alive. It's all right.
As a footballer, I was just going to say that people shouldn't forget quite how good a defender Winston Reid was. This was our best defender, and I'm not one to give up on players. He still has, I think, a fair while, 3 years possibly left on his contract or something like that. Yeah, he's on decent money. He's a really good player, and he's a left-sided centre back as well, which is I think always useful to have a balance because I do think they are positions in their own right. I think you'll often see when someone plays out of position if he swaps over to the other side, you can often tell, and you often do let in goals. So I'm not prepared to write him off just yet, but he's not walking into that team.
We've got 3 left-sided centre-backs now. That's unusual for a Premier League team, isn't it? 3 of your 4 centre-backs be left-sided. I really like Winston Reid. I mean, Gonzo did our sort of best 11s that we've seen. Winston Reid was arguably my first centre-back. I think he's fantastic. It's just such a problem that he's so injury-ridden, if you like. He's got a long time to go. Gonzo said he's on a decent wage. Now, to me and Gonzo, and the person listening to this, he is on a decent wage. But to a Premier League footballer, I think he's on an average wage now, actually. He was on top dollar, but it's overtaken now a little bit. So he probably is on 60 grand a week or something, which is, not cheap. But it's getting to the point now that that's what, if we're trying to aspire to get places, that's what you have to start paying. You're sort of like your whole squad, if you like, your 20-man squad all needs to be on that sort of money. And that's where he fits in. He fits in the squad. And hopefully he stays fit over the summer and gets good pre-season. It'll be interesting. But we're not going to shift him. No one's going to come and get him, is it? So
well, somebody would. If Allardyce got a job, Allardyce would come and get him because Allardyce loves him.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I wouldn't want to sell him though, because what would we get from £2 million or something? We didn't get much, given that he's just been back. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get a fully fit Reid back. I'll tell you what, if he was to somehow get a run in the team and he's on form, it's difficult to dislodge him. He's a bloody good player. Him. The only worry is he's a bit hoofball. He is a little bit bunted down the pitch, and Collins always got that tag, but Winston Reid was just as bad. And I'm not sure Winston Reid would or should I say, I don't think Pellegrini would like Winston Reid so much when he just keeps blasting it down the middle of the pitch. But we'll wait and see for Winston. Joe at Joeski02 says, with Antonio playing as good as he has been lately, does Yarmolenko walk back into the team when he is fit?
Look, Yarmolenko, I've barely seen Yarmolenko play. He had a really good game. He scored a couple of goals. I think he might have scored another one. He had 2 or 3 good performances, and he got injured. In a West Ham shirt, Yarmolenko has done nothing. I mean, he has done nothing, really. Certainly, he has not been better than Antonio this season. It's not like we have a body of evidence. We're not talking about Winston Reid here, who's played well and been our best defender for years and years. He has got no body of history with us. So there's no way he could come in and dislodge Antonio. He has to work his way up. He has to earn his stripes. He has to come on as sub, maybe look very sparkly, very good. That's what he's got to do. I mean, you mentioned pre-season earlier, Gio. I do think pre-season is going to be interesting because I believe we're going to wherever we're going, Siberia or Jupiter or
China.
something. Yeah. So I think we're going to run a 2-tier. We're going to run a 2-tier pre-season friendly. So I think we'll probably still have. We'll be playing Southend or Wickham or whoever. I think that will be going on over here, and then we'll be playing in the Mickey Mouse tournament in China. So I think there's going to be ample opportunity for plenty of people to play and impress in pre-season. He might have a very, very good pre-season, but I still would start with Antonio whenever the date is of the first game next season.
I think the season's finished at the wrong time for Antonio, really, because he's in such good form. I mean, Yarmolenko's been back in training for a while now, so you'd expect him to be sort of near fully fit when it comes around to pre-season. And that's bad news for Antonio because Yarmolenko's a Pellegrini signing, so I think that makes a big difference because if you bought that player, you've bought him for a reason. That is because you want to play him, and it's going to be like a new signing, Pellegrini, isn't it? Because he's barely played, so Pellegrini's going to be looking, thinking, well, in his eyes, he's upgraded our right winger for next season already without spending any money because he's there. And I think that's going to be difficult for Antonio because he's, he deserves to start as our right winger. But the problem is, I'm almost going to have a feeling that Pellegrini's going to be waiting for one bad game from Antonio. Out you go, because I'm putting Yarmolenko in, putting my guy in there. He's on big bucks, and you're right. He only played a few games for Yarmolenko, but he's just got that touch of class about him. He does just have that ooze of quality when he was on the ball and stuff. Yourself, what would you like to say there?
I've got a question. And if Palace sell Zaha and they get their 70 million, we know that Roy Hodgson covets Antonio. Would you, Geo, aka Red Hammer, whatever your number is, would you take 35 million for Antonio?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I've answered that one. That was a quick section to the show, wasn't it?
Why would you?
Well, I don't know. It's my question, wasn't it?
The question.
I'm Michael Parkinson at the moment. So
when people send in their questions for both of us, so there's a guy called Gonzo just sent in.
Gonzo. So what a lovely name.
Hang on. Bob here says if Palace sells Zaha for 7 million and offer 35 million for Antonio, would you accept it?
He's got an intelligent question to him, Bob. I like the sound of Bob. For 35 million, yeah, I probably would.
I think, like I said, every player's got a price. I think Antonio's a good player. I just think it's a lot of money. He's not young anymore, Antonio, is he? Is he 30 yet? He's
around that, 29 or 30, I'd imagine, yeah. But so's Yarmolenko.
Yeah, I know, but my point is you can get that 35 million, run away with it, and try and go and get someone 5 years younger than him, arguably just as good. With 35 million, a lot of sway. We were talking about Jack Grealish last night. Well, there's your grade, arguably, if you like, plus a little bit of money in the bank. I think I can't sit here and say every player's got a price. And when you say Antonio 35 million, for me to sit here and go, no.
It wasn't me. It was Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Causing trouble in the
I don't like him. I don't like him.
He's a cheeky one, that one.
He banned.
He might pop up later on in the show as well, but keep an eye on him. Right, Steve Hill, Steve5705 says, this will not happen under Pellegrini, but hypothetically, sometimes, especially away from home, we should play 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, etc. What do you think?
Well, I would suggest if you were playing Masuaku and Fredericks, they probably are more suited to wing-backs. I do like 3 at the back because it allows you to play 2 strikers, and I do like 2 strikers. Having said that, if the way things are going, if we sell everyone we're rumoured to sell, we're going to have no strikers. So, so I don't know. Maybe not. It's tough. You're right. Pellegrini it is so hypothetical. Pellegrini loves his 4 at the back. It's one of the first things he said. I will be playing 4 at the back. There might be different variations of how the midfield and the forwards are constructed ahead of that, but it will always be 4 at the back. So, but I do like it. I also think it allows you to swamp midfield, and I'm quite a big fan of swamping midfield. Swamp midfield, 2 strikers. I think it's not a bad way to win games. But sometimes it doesn't work. I think, who are we looking at? Was it Tottenham? Was it Tottenham against Ajax? I think in the first leg, he went with 3 at the back, and he was totally undone. It took him quite a long time to jiggle it around and work out.
He juggled it about because Vertonghen went off with concussion, so he had to.
Actually, it was forced on him. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem obvious to him at the time, did it? So, I mean, 3-5-2 can be outdone, but every formation can be outdone. So, maybe not. We've conceded too many goals, though. So maybe something needs to happen.
We'll show you that 3-5-2 can work if you get it right and you've got the right personnel in there, and that's important because their midfield 3 is what makes that formation tick. They can keep the ball, they can shift it quickly, and they've got 2 fast guys up front that have a really good partnership, and it just works all over the pitch. I wouldn't play at West Ham because our main influencers, if you like, I wouldn't want to see Felipe Anderson in a 3 in the middle. So where do you put him? He becomes a little bit sort of void, and that's a struggle. Where you put Antonio up front, maybe, but again, we just spoke about how good form he is, and all of a sudden we're benching 2 of our sort of most impactful players. So it would work for fullbacks, but I just think Anderson and Antonio far outweigh what Masuaku and Fredericks offer going forward. So for me, no. I like Pellegrini. I like the fact he's playing with 4. I think he's struggled a little bit to find out how to use the rest of his team. Does he go 4-2-3-1? I think 4-3-3 works. I've always said I'd like to see us play a bit like Liverpool with 3 centre midfielders, and your wide players come in a little bit. You know, they need to start contributing goals, and they're doing that, Antonio and Anderson. But that's how I would like to see us set up 4-3-3. You know, Man City and Liverpool play similar tactics. Arguably 2 of the best managers in the league. So they're playing the same way. It usually means that that's the right way to play football, and if you can get it to work, and I think that's how we're going to be playing next season with that 4-3-3. One of our centre midfielders sort of pushing up a little bit further, which I would like to see. Gary Smithhurst at Gary Smithhurst. This is the Twitter @ to have. Just your name. Perfect. Nice one, Gary.
Well, everyone can't have it though. It'd be very confusing.
He was also the first Gary Smithhurst on Twitter.
There's not many.
Do you think Pellegrini should be more open to the idea of loan signings this season? I mentioned this to you last night. I like this question. Tielemans and Andre Gomez are good examples of what was available last season. Now, Pellegrini, for those listening, Pellegrini doesn't like loan signings. He sort of doesn't see why you would use someone else's player and give them game time when you've got your own players.
Oh, I didn't know that, Gary Smithhurst. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was against loan signings. My answer was going to be, what's to say Pellegrini is against loan signings? But clearly there is something to say. Should he look at it? I don't know. I don't think we're many players short of being able to challenge for that 9th position in the league, I've got to say. And I don't know if we need to pad it out with loans on this occasion. I think we've had the link today with Rondon. Then that's creative thinking. So if you decide actually we do need 2 strikers, well, if you get one of them for free, absolutely fantastic. You go and get your main choice. You get Rondon for free. So I think you could be a bit.
Rondon's not free.
Rondon's not free.
No, I know what article you're referring to, and it's wrong. He's not free.
Why is he not free? I thought he was up West Brom.
Yeah, he's got a year left on his contract at West Brom.
Oh well, there you go.
He's got a £16.5 million release clause though, so he's there for 16 million.
Okay, well there you go. That's two sets of fireworks that have been urinated on with me there. I don't really know what else to say to Gary Smithhurst, to be honest with
you. Bob told me about Ron.
I tell you what, he's a wrong un, an absolute wrung un.
I told you he'd be popping up again. But I like Gary's suggestion here, because Gary's not saying pad your squad out with loan signings. I think that's right. What Gary's saying is there's one or two players out there with that little star quality that maybe aren't good enough for like top sides that are good enough for West Ham. Well, let's go get them on loan. The only problem is, and Andre Gomez is the perfect example of this. He's gone to Everton, had a fantastic season, one of the best centre midfielders in the league, and now Spurs are having him. Spurs are saying, well, we'll have him, thank you very much, because he's done his year edition in the Premier League. So Spurs are thinking, well, there's the answer to our centre midfielder problems, and we've got Champions League football, you don't, we'll lure him in.
They're
Leicester are showing just how to do it, though. They've got Tielemans in. Brilliant form. Obviously, it sounds like Monaco wanting 40 million. That looks like a bargain. Leicester know they're getting a guy that can fit into the squad, used to the club, etc. It can work, but these loan signings are very, very rare, because while there has been a few this season, and obviously Mendes has done his work over in Wolves for the years, and you're bringing in like Raul Jimenez on loan, so it's worked there. But that's with a super agent, if you like. That's rare. I would struggle to go back next, even the previous season and the one before, to find. I'd be surprised you could find more than 5 loan signings of that ilk that really, really worked. You know, Delafeu, when he went to Everton, worked at Barcelona. But again, there's only 2 or 3 a season. And how many? You look at Andre Schürrle at Fulham, that shows you it can also go tits up a little bit. You know, he came in with a big reputation. I remember saying I wouldn't have minded him at West Ham on loan. Then when you watch Fulham and you see him trotting around the pitch, think, bloody hell, that boy clearly thinks he's too good for Fulham. That's where it goes wrong a little bit. So you got to be careful. But I think it's something without stretching the pennies that you can add quality to your team. Ben Davies, are you looking forward to VAR coming into the Premier League next season?
Yes, but not when I'm at the games. So when I'm at home, I'm looking forward to it. They've got a massive issue. I'm a big rugby fan, and the fans get to see what happens. They get to see the decision at rugby. It's on the screens. Football's stuck in a dark ages. The way they limit the replays, it's bad form. I don't like it. I don't like the way they limit their footage at football games, and VAR is going to be an extension of that. So the referee's going to get to see it on his little screen. We won't get to see it. We'll be struggling for a bit of Wi-Fi or a bit of 4G, so our mates who are at home and not at the games can tell us, oh yeah, it was a pen, mate, or whatever. So yeah, there's 2 answers to that. Yeah, yes and no.
I'm the same, really. And I'm also, but I'm not looking forward to. There's still, for me, grey areas, and that is an opinion of a penalty differs, even from referee to referee, it differs. And what one referee will see, he will say pen, and what the referee can see the same thing and go, no pen. And that's what worries me a little bit. I think they should try, and I would have preferred if they brought in stages. So for next season, I would have done offsides only. It is black and white. There is right or wrong. And then just gradually build it in. Goal line technology's worked massively. The title was decided on goal line technology this season because of the way Liverpool had that shot cleared offline, and then Man City scored that goal against Burnley. Goal line technology is the reason City won the league, arguably. But this VAR, I think it's going to be a mess for a little while. Do you know Mark Noble? The reason I bring this up is because I think Mark Noble's going to retire our all-time Premier League goal scorer. He's 3 goals behind Di Canio. I think it's 3. He's now our second in all-time Premier League goal scorers. Mark Noble now second. I mean, with VAR and penalties coming up, you'd imagine he is going to be our number 1 all-time Premier League goal scorer. I mean, I think it's fantastic, but at the same time, I think, bloody hell, have we not got a striker apart from Di Canio that scored goals?
No, not really. I mean, Ashton would have done it, but he deserves it. He deserves it, Mark, because he's been around a long time. He's stayed. He's been steadfast. He's seen off a lot of managers, and every time a manager comes in, people say, "Oh, Noble, he'll be off." But whatever manager, whatever style, he deserves that, because obviously he's not ever going to get Billy Bonds' record, who possibly could. So to get the goals, and it's Premier League. Premier League, I'm not a huge fan of the Premier League one, because it was basically wipe the slate clean as if football started. I think the last, when it was the Championship, when it was actually just the Football League, and it was Division 1. Basically, the Premier League was Division 1. The Championship was Division 2. It was a lot easier, then. I think the very last one, I think Leeds United won it with Cantona. I think Cantona up front under Howard Wilkinson. And there was plenty of good players. There was lots of really, really good players. Ryan Giggs was playing for Man United, and so on and so forth, I think, and all of that. So it's not like records only began then. But it is a thing that people do. Just quote whatever the Premier League is, the last 25 years of football. So, of course, it's going to be full of modern players, and the old records are expunged. But I am pleased for him that he has got a record, and he's got something on there, and he deserves it, because he's a trooper, mate. He's claret and blue,
Indeed. Daz, Matt, we're now moving on to the YouTube questions. So these people left their questions. We put up a post before a cup of tea. We put up a post appear on your subscription feed. It's just a bit of text. You can reply to it with your question. I'll keep it from there. Oh, and some of them, a couple left comments after last night's video. So YouTube, Daz Mac says, do you think Lanzini will sign a new contract or leave? And if he does leave, how much do you think we will get for him?
Okay, he should sign a new contract. He owes us in that sense. We've been he's got back to it. We've stuck by him. I think we've been good for Lanzini, very good for Lanzini. Lanzini was playing, I don't know, out in a Sahara desert or somewhere like that when he was signed. He was he'd flopped. He looked like he'd been promising player in Argentina, and he'd gone out. I think he might have gone out to play for, I don't know, was the club, maybe the club was called Al Jazeera or something. Not entirely sure. Clearly his career was going in the wrong direction. We brought him over here, and even at one point, he was being mooted as Coutinho's replacement at Liverpool. So I think we've been very good for him. He got injured. Wasn't our fault. It was Argentina's fault. And I think he should sign a new contract, really. I'm pretty sure that if a good offer comes into him to go to the second part of the question, then he will want to leave. And I think he would probably press the issue. And I wouldn't like to take less than 50 million for him. I think you're going to see him back to his best again next season. Give him a pre-season. He's been one of the best attacking midfielders in the league.
Yeah, just to give context to this, Lanzini's got 1 year to go on his contract, hence for this question. However, West Ham United have a 2-year clause on it, so we can just flip the switch and the 1 year turns into 3 years. So I'd imagine the club are pretty relaxed. I think the fans should be pretty relaxed as well. There's no need to be worried about whether Lanzini will sign, etc., etc. I don't think anyone will want him this summer. He's just back from a lengthy layoff, and whatever clubs would want him, the money would be nowhere near what we value him at. I still think he's our best player on this day. I still do. I've seen a few people suggesting that we should maybe cash in on him. I just think
people have short memories.
I think it's ridiculous, to be honest, because as you know, I like my stats, and I try and take things per 90 minutes / per game rather than totals. And if you do it per game, Lanzini's creating more chances from open play this season than Anderson. Now Anderson's obviously creating more because he's been fit all season. But if you do it per game, averages, Lanzini tops Anderson by quite a bit as well. Actually, it's quite a distance he's topping him by. Pellegrini doesn't know who Lanzini is. Well, he does, but he's never used him before, so he's still trying to find where to play Lanzini, where's the best position to put him in and stuff. But this pre-season is huge for a few players, and Lanzini's one of them because he's got serious competition. It's the first time at West Ham, actually, he's now got competition. He's always sort of been a guaranteed starter. Even if he's not in form, he still starts because there's no one to replace him. Well, now we've got a couple of those players now that says, actually, we can put you on the bench and put a couple in there. And he's got to sort of rise up to it. Now, I know what you're saying, that we've been good for Lanzini, but I think Lanzini's been good for us. He cost us £8 million. He's more than we paid his fee, in my opinion. So it is what it is, but I don't think he'll be going anywhere at all. Gary Page, do you think Pellegrini should stick by Declan and say he's not necessarily stick by him? Do you think he should say he's not available at any price? Because again, after the Watford game, he got asked about Declan Rice and Pellegrini did the whole I don't know. So Gary says he would like to see Pellegrini say, no, not for sale, off you pop.
Yes and no, maybe after what happened with the agent and Sullivan and all the rest of it, they don't want to say that, because maybe the agent will go straight back into Sullivan and say, "Oh, oi, if you're not going to sell us, we want a pay rise or whatever." I don't know. I think Pellegrini plays a game. I think he does it with the press. You certainly get the impression he'd rather do no press at all, which is fine if he's a football man. But I think when he does do the press, I think he plays a game, and I think he's always giving subliminal messages out to the fans and to the players when he does his press conferences. Alex Ferguson used to do it all the time. That was really his way of communicating with everybody, but he would do it by stealth, if you know what I mean. Listen, Gary. Hello, by the way, mate. I don't really care what Pellegrini says. I'm more bothered by what he does, really.
I'm not too fussed either. I just think Pellegrini's been honest, really. Is it too open? Maybe, but you know what? I'm sick and tired of hearing the bollocks from people at West Ham United that's sort of half-truths and misleading and such. So I'm happy to have a manager who's just a bit honest. And Zabaleta as well. I remember when we were playing crap and Zabaleta came out and said, we've been playing crap. And I actually thought, well, this is refreshing because normally you get the old, we'll be practicing really hard in training to put it right for next week that you hear every time. It was good to hear a player come out and say, we've not been good enough. We need to do a little bit better. My showbiz name says, do you think we can make real progress with just £30 million to spend plus player sales?
I don't know, mate. Well, no, we can't make real progress because we spent 100 million in the summer and we didn't really progress that much. So 30 million is not going to make us. It's not going to turn us into a top 16, clearly. And even with player sales. But having said that, I don't think we're that far away. But we're not that far away from what? In my mind, we're not that far away from what I would consider to be a balanced team who are entertaining to watch, who can go into most games with an expectation that we can win. Now, I don't mean that becomes a team that goes 13 games unbeaten or whatever, Man City, Liverpool did at the end of the season. But we go into games with a chance, and that's really all you can ask for as a West Ham fan. So it depends. I guess, mate, it depends what you gauge as progress. I think that's progress. I think looking at the team going, yeah, I like that right back, I like that left back, that centre back, the midfield. We're going to score some goals today. We're going to take it to them. And as I sort of was a bit of a scratch record last season, we're going to give that opposition coach something to think about when he gets a team sheet. He's, I've got look at those. They got a really good striker, and they got Anderson, whatever, Yarmolenko, and Lanzini in the team, and the fullback's going to be at us as well. And it makes that opposition manager, go, do you know what? I'm going to pull him back and put another defensive midfielder in, or something like that. That's progress for me, that we can impact the opposition coaches' plans. So in that respect, I think, maybe 30 million plus sales possibly can do us that.
It's a bit of both for me. I think Pellegrini's handcuffed a little bit in the transfer window, which is never good. It's sort of, his main target's 40 million, then he's already £12 million down, isn't he? He's already sort of got to find £12 million from somewhere. The key thing for me is we've got a few players who can shift and raise, 20 million maybe. It won't be anyone that was part of the squad last season. Hugo, Byron. Oxford looks like he's off for 3 million. He posted a tweet last night, and it was about Augsburg, and he's changed his profile. If you go on his Twitter now, it says like Augsburg FC. So you'd assume that's him basically saying it's done. I'm off skis. But there's a few other players, Fernandez as well, of course. So we could nearly get £20 million in without selling anyone that's going to impact the squad, which is important, I think. The reason I'm quite calm about 30 million is because, one, we don't need that much, and two, when we bring in a player, i.e. we bring in a centre midfielder, we can sell Obiang. We bring in a striker, we can sell Anavic. We bring in a left back, we can sell Masuaku, and there's a good chance we're going to get majority of the outlay back in transfer fees for the player we're selling as well. So that's important. Our squad's worth a lot of money. Our starting 11, each player in that squad is worth a decent bit of cash. Obiang's, everybody wants him gone. He's still £10 million roughly. I mean, it's a decent fee for someone that we deem surplus to requirements at West Ham. It's a situation we've not really been in quite a while. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about how to raise 10 million quid. I mean, you're sort of thinking, well, we could sell 2 or 3 players to get that £10 million. Now we're thinking we could sell our 4th choice centre midfielder. We've got it. The other thing is, now this is where we've got something coming up in a couple of weeks. If you've been watching on Twitter tonight, you'll know what. But we've got a guest on that show who knows about the finances of West Ham. He understands finances about West Ham better than anybody else because his job he's a lecturer at university, and his job is about teaching finances of football. Okay, so he's obviously reads every football club's accounts when they come out, and he's obviously read West Ham. He's done a lot of articles about it, and we've got him on a live stream in a couple of weeks. And it's going to be interesting to talk to him because he will be able to tell us about, in plain English, what's going on in the accounts, why we might only have 30 million, why it might be a good thing that we've only got 30 million. But what I will say is it's common knowledge now the board are due £45 million on the 1st of January 2020, right? And there's talk that they might delay that, they might move it. I'll tell you something, if they're going to do that, they need to do it before the window kicks into gear, because you cannot allow Pellegrini to struggle with 30 million. When the window shuts, go, oh yeah, do you not have 45 million payment? We're going to move it back now. And you go, that will annoy me, that will frustrate me majorly if they do this tactic, because as soon as they get that £45 million back, they stop earning interest. They've got no income from West Ham until they sell up, which is, I'm intrigued as to what they do here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they delay that payment. But if they do, they've got to do it now and give that 45 million Pellegrini. And then all of a sudden he's got 75 million to spend. That's Maxi Gomez paid for, if you like. And they can still earn interest on their £45 million loan for another season or two. But that'll be interesting when we get our mystery guest on. Moving on to questions from the live chat from tonight and from last night as well that I wrote down. Flight says, who is the first names on the team sheet for next season?
I guess he means who I think. Diop, Rice, Anderson, Lanzini, Balbuena, Fabianski. Yes, I keep missing keepers because I outfield players. Forget about them. Yeah, I'd say those. I would be starting with those guys, and then working out. That's not to say the others don't feature, but it depends who else we buy as to who I put in.
I wouldn't say Lanzini. I wouldn't say he's down. I would say keeper, 2 centre backs, Rice and Anderson. I would say that's it. I think the rest of them have all got to grapple for their shirts over pre-season. Forever Blowing Bubbles, or Forever Blowing even, says, who would you like to see as the first home game next season?
Someone easy, really. So Tottenham, probably. Tottenham at home.
Oh, God, that was quite good. I'll give you that one. You know what? I'd like Sheffield United. That would really get the season going, wouldn't it? Because the players now, let's be honest, don't care. They won't understand. Only Mark Noble will get it. The rest of them will be thinking, why do we not like this team? But the atmosphere would be rocking in that place against Sheffield United, the first home game of the season. So yeah, put me down for Sheffield United, please, and hopefully we'll get 3 points as well from that one. Mark Weir, keep or sell Javier Hernandez. Have you seen his bright orange head?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Why would you do such a thing? He's a flaming grown man,
and he's just had his first baby. That's why he's asked not to be in the Mexican squad for the Copa America.
Poor baby's probably screaming. I don't know what's going on, does it? Imagine that, looking down through the cot at you, going, coochie, 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 coo. No, he can go. He's just not featuring. He hasn't done. It's not worked out. The move's not worked out. He needs to go to free up some money and free up some cash, some of the weekly allowance. It's not called that, is it? That's something else.
So is that what you get from your wife? Is it?
Yeah, mate.
Pens.
That's what pays for the Yorkshire tea and the malted milk biscuits. Yeah.
Yeah. Hammer 1999 says, who should be vice captain next season?
Rice.
Who's the vice captain this season? Zabaleta.
Maybe, yeah, but it would make sense as Abramovich. Just give it to Declan Rice. He's a captain in the making.
Yeah, I've always been reluctant because I've always said there's enough pressure on the kids' shoulders. Why would we have more? But it's got to the point now that the only one I would suggest ahead of him is Balbuena or Fabianski. But I don't like the keeper being captain because I always think it should be someone that's sort of in the middle of the pitch if possible. I would say Balbuena is my vice captain, but certainly with an eye on Vice getting it sort of long term. Joe Lancaster says, now he asked this last night, so context needed here. While he put in this question, Derby County were doing the mother of all comebacks against Leeds United in the playoff semi-finals. So you can probably guess what's the way to come. He says, would you consider Lampard as our next manager?
Depends how good he. Listen, I've not got a big old thing. Lampard's a shirty little bugger, right? And he's not afraid to snipe back in the press, and he done plenty of sniping at West Ham. And he wasn't, when he left, he was not shy to remind us, hold on, I paid for that stand. We kept on saying, we're in the West Ham, I paid for that. That being said, Frank Lampard, and we know people that grew up in and around Frank. Frank Lampard was a mad West Ham fan. A mad West Ham fan. West Ham kids growing up. All he ever wanted to do was play for West Ham. And I don't know how much you remember, Geo. He got a lot of stick from West Ham fans because they thought he was. Because for those that don't know, Harry Redknapp is his uncle, and his dad was assistant manager. His dad, Frank Lampard, was a fantastic West Ham legend, and a lot of people thought he got in through nepotism. People thought it was because he was related to the manager. And Harry Redknapp, we say, no, listen, he's brilliant. And actually, he was scoring goals at West Ham. He was decent. I remember playing, I think it was Hartson, and it was a really good team. I really liked that team as well. And then basically West Ham sacked his uncle and his dad. So having sacked them, he was basically left at West Ham. A bunch of fans who didn't like him, who thought he was, getting and he left under acrimonious circumstances. Chelsea came along, and let's be fair, along with Steven Gerrard, he turned in, and Paul Scholes maybe turned into the best English midfielders of the generation. It will go down as a. You want to talk about those players? Talk about Thierry Henry and these. Frank Lampard's got to be mentioned with these players because Frank Lampard was that good. I just think it turned really sour. It wasn't a Paul Ince situation, if you know what I mean. And I don't know if too much water's passed under the bridge, though. Personally, I wouldn't have a problem, but I think too many things have been said on both sides because we were quite nasty to him, and then he was quite nasty back.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence with this one, but at the same time, it depends how good he is as a manager more than anything for me, really. He's done well with Derby. I think he's doing really well with Derby. If he gets him up, he's a Premier League manager. It'll be interesting to see if he can cut it in the Premier League. I think he did. I think him and Gerrard were both lucky to get the jobs they did. I think they only got them because of who they are, maybe who they know as well. But they're both proving their worth, really. They're both proving to be good managers, etc. So I think Chelsea, there's stupid rumours linking him to Chelsea already to replace Sarri, which I can't really see. Considering John Terry's a coach and he's had to go to Villa to do his coaching, if you like, rather than getting a shoe in at his old club. So, but I think that's a partnership we might see one day, Lampard and Terry at Stamford Bridge.
I think he'd say no, by the way.
Lampard say no to West Ham.
Oh, then you say, yeah, you lot do one. He gave me stick for years and years. Do one. That being said, I agree with what you say about Gerrard as well, and I'd probably prefer Gerrard out of the two anyway because he's got a steel about him. I like people that say, like my favourite pundits, Roy Keane. Roy Keane's brilliant. I love Roy Keane to bits as a player. I love the way he talks. No nonsense. Absolutely brilliant. And Gerrard, I like the way he's gone up there. And even from afar, I don't pay that much attention to Scottish football in the old firm. But he's got a steeliness about him. He protects his players. He takes no nonsense. I like the way he's really stern when he talks to the press. And a bit of a dinosaur in that sense. But you do get the sense that he's a leader. You look at him, and even though he's young, he's still young looking. You look at him and think nothing else apart from that's the boss. That's the governor. I think he almost just the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, he demands respect. I like the cut of his jib. To be fair, I think he'll do well as a manager.
I think they're both doing well, and it'll be interesting to see how well they keep doing. But I tell you what, someone we need to keep an eye on is Lee Bowyer. He's done a fantastic job at Charlton as well, and that's someone, when you watch Charlton play, now admittedly it's quite rare, but when I do watch him play, they're playing decent football. He's handling himself well as well. So Boyer's actually impressive. I mean, he's someone to maybe watch. Which leads us on to, funnily enough, to our next question from Mark Watts. Who would you get to replace Pellegrini at the end of his contract extension? At the end of his contract, which has still got 2 years, or are you hoping he'll sign an extension?
No, I'm not hoping anything. Lee Bowyer's Mark Noble's cousin, by the way, if just in case you didn't know. I'm not hoping. I hope he gets to see out the 2 years. I'm not even thinking about an extension at the moment. It really depends on him. I mean, the big thing came out this week about Pellegrini being approached by Sevilla. And it was a bit of lazy journalism as well, because they suggested they'd be more comfortable over there because his wife would be more settled there. And I could tell it was lazy because his wife lives in Chile. And even when he was at Malaga or Real Madrid or anywhere else, she's always remained in Chile. Literally, she has never moved from Chile. He's done his whole managerial career. His family have stayed there. So it was sort of lazy journalism. But I do often think, when I look at anybody that's got lots and lots of money, Geo, I do often think, well, to what end? How much do you want? How much do you need? Surely at some point, he's going to want to go and enjoy the later years of his life. You know, what's the point in having whatever he's got, 30, 40 million pound in the bank, if you can't go and enjoy your years from the age of 60 to 70 with your feet up on a yacht or whatever? Maybe it doesn't appeal to him. Obviously, it won't appeal to everybody. But I'd like to see what Pellegrini wanted to do. As far as concerns afterwards, I don't know. And do you know what? For all the reasons we just mentioned, when you've just discussed Bowyer, Lampard and Gerrard, in 2 years' time, there may be a whole raft of new managerial candidates. In 2 years' time, it's just going to be very different. I watched Chris Hughton go from the future to 62 years of age, but it seemed very, very quickly. Eddie Howe may not be the future in 2 years' time, for instance. So you just don't know what's going to happen. It may well be a very, very promising manager that the geezer at Norwich. You don't know. And anything could happen. So I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't say at the moment.
I would offer him an extension at the minute, to be honest. I think 2 years. But you look at this squad, he's not far off building a really good squad. But there's still work needed done. And in a year's time, there's going to be a couple of players in that squad we're going to be looking at. And it's funny enough, as players we spoke about already, you'd be looking at Natovic, Fabianski will only have a year to go. Yarmolenko will be the wrong side of 30 as well. Antonio will be the wrong side of 30. We'll be looking at them thinking, these guys might need replaced now. But Pellegrini will only have a year left on his contract at this point, so why would he replace them? He doesn't care about what happens the year after next. He only cares about what happens in that immediate season. And I always think there should be long-term planning, and I think we've got a 2-year planning at the minute, but it doesn't go beyond 2 years for me. I don't see anything that says this is what's going to happen after Pellegrini. But even if he's not getting a contract extension, Mr. Huselos, unfortunately, who is Pellegrini's mate, I do think they need to be looking at other managers at the minute, thinking, right, who are we going to get in? Because anything could happen in the next 2 years if Pellegrini doesn't see out his contract. Now, it might be that he does bad, or it might be something in Pellegrini's life where he has to stop being a manager of football. Like you said, he might have that much money in his bank. He decides, actually, I've lost my love for football. I've got a year to go, but I really want to see it out. I'm going to resign. I'm done. And we need to be prepared for that. And we need to know exactly who we're going to get. We're going to have to be monitoring all these managers and stuff, looking at managers abroad. And I would like to get someone younger in next time. I would like to get someone, and maybe not Gerrard and Lampard, because they're not just young. They're inexperienced and unproven. Even with 3 years under their belt, they'll still be quite raw. But I would like to get in a sort of like a Pochettino who comes in that you can sort of say, this is the guy. And as long as he does well, he's here for 10 years, this guy. And I would like to see that. Now, it's a fairy tale managerial situation, and fairy tales very rarely happen. You know, this isn't Disney. This is the Premier League. But fairy tales is all about dreaming, isn't it? So I'm going to be dreaming of a fairy tale managerial situation. I think Leicester City have nailed it with Brendan Rodgers, by the way. They've got a guy in there who's young enough to keep going for quite a while. And I would just like to see the same with West Ham. Now, who that guy is, I don't know. I think Southampton have gone and done it as well with Hasenhüttl. I think they've got a manager there who's young enough to keep going for a decent period of time should he do well. So, yeah, I'd be get that scouting for a manager, not just players. Last question. We've done quite a lot of questions. So the last one before we wrap up, and we've got a couple of things to sort of add on to the end of the show. Is from Ray. He says, if you only get 4 signings this summer,
blimey.
Not players, don't worry. What priority would you put the positions in? What forward would you buy?
We're probably similar. I've been banging on about central midfield for a long time, about legs and athleticism. That being said, I think the striker situation is pressing, and we've discussed Arnautovic last night. Where we've just discussed the orange-haired one, and obviously we've got Perez and Carroll's off. We haven't discussed either of those two. We need a striker. So, and I was excited with the Rondon link before you pedalled on me fireworks, because I like him. I think he's a very good player. I think it would suit us, and he's Premier League proven. So I think just because we won't have any, I think striker is a priority. But the next one is the athletic, fast midfielder for the transition, and probably left back then, and then probably a second striker.
Slightly different. Striker, centre mid, right back for me. I'm still. We spoke about it last night. It's a concern for me. Our right back position, that would be my third, and then my fourth would be left back. I'm telling you, in a year's time, assuming we get a Maxi Gomez or someone, in a year's time, we're going to be sitting here talking about either a centre midfielder because Wiltshire has been injured all season. And if not, we're going to be sitting here saying we need a right back. We need to spend £20 million on a right back. I'm predicting it now. I don't think Zabaleta or Fredericks is good enough to be playing 40 games at right back for us next season. When you look at the stats, and I'm talking about assists here, actually. Now, I know Liverpool is the twilight example. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold have got like 12 and 13 assists each, right? Creswell and Zabaleta have got 1 each. There's a problem there, especially when you play like Pellegrini. How can your fullbacks only have 1 assist? It's not good enough, okay? Then we need to start getting something out of them. You look at Everton with Dignity. The guy's scoring from outside the box. He's creating chances, etc. Look, your mate Pereira over at Leicester. That's the kind of fullbacks you want. We don't have those fullbacks.
No, he's not. That's what I say about Fredericks. He's not technically good enough. I got pelters actually in one of the videos we did, but he's that's what I say. He's not got a ball control and a delivery for how Pellegrini wants to play.
But that's because you said you never want to see him in a West Ham shirt again.
Did I? I meant that current shirt, the grey. I don't ever want to see him in the grey one that looked like it'd been in the wash with Mrs. Gonzo's pink sock again. What his shirt was doing in my wife's wash, I don't know, but there you go.
Interesting. It's probably Bob. He's probably Bob.
I'd say he's
causing trouble. Anyway, in 2 weeks, 31st of May to be precise, it's a Friday evening. We will be going live in the evening. We will be going live for 24 hours through till Saturday evening, and we'll be finishing just before the Champions League final. The point of that is it's our charity stream. We normally do a charity thing every season, at least once a season. It's a couple of years ago, we did an auction last year, raised money on the boats. We haven't really done anything this season. We raised a little bit of money for any old irons, as Richard from our boats did a run. So we raised a little bit of money for that, but it's not been enough. So we're going to do a charity stream, and all the money goes to Isla. Now, how we're going to raise money is, well, we're hoping some of you will feel sorry for us if we're doing a 24-hour live stream. 2, it's taking that. Trust me, it's going to take a lot of work. Charlie keeps saying it's crazy, and it is a crazy idea, and you soon sign it at 5. But we're also doing a raffle. £5 donation would get you a raffle ticket, and the top prize in the raffle so far is 2 hospitality tickets to a home game of your choice next season, and that's courtesy of Betway. So I don't know what they're worth, but I'd imagine they're worth £200-300 each. These tickets as well. We've got some other raffle prizes as well, but we'll reveal more later. But we're just informing people, so make sure you can pop along now and again on the Friday or the Saturday. We've got lots and lots of guests, and we've got a few ex-players lined up. Don't want to say who they are yet because it's subject to availability, but they've said yes. But all the other West Ham sites, the big West Ham sites, they're all involved. We've got Sean Wexton from Clanton Hugh, Graham Howlett's coming on from Knees Up Mother Brown. We've got Nicky and Ryan from West Ham Fan TV, ex-West Ham employee, Dave Walker, both of them from the West Ham Way podcast is coming on. We've got the H list. We've got David Baker from, he's the chair of the OSB, which will be interesting. I'm looking forward to that one.
Hammer and Talk?
He's not coming on. No, he's not coming on. I said the big West Ham sites. We've got Paul Colburn, who's better known as Bubbles. He was the guy on the pitch with a flag against Burnley. He's coming on for a chat as well because they've started a new group called Hammers United. So they've been asking if they can sort of do something with us. So he's coming on. Kev from Sex, Drugs, Carton Calls coming on. I've probably missed a couple of people. David Blackmore from Blown Bubbles fanzine is next to Gonzo's head, probably.
He's not here. I'm on my own. There's only room for one in this cupboard.
There's plenty of them. There's plenty of them beside your head.
Lovely. I've got the most recent one. It's in the dunny, as they say in Australia.
Yeah, so we've got loads and loads of guests coming on. It's going to be a bit chaos. Myself and Charlie will be doing the full 24 hours. From start to finish. Gonzo will be popping on why are you laughing?
Well, because you're mad. But yeah,
I've had to take the day off work. I've had to use a holiday day off work in order to do this because I need to sleep during the day. There's no way I can go to work Friday, come home and sit down for 24 hours straight. So it's crazy, but we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be fun. Tim, American Hammers TV. Tim from American Hammers TV is coming on. We needed someone to do the night shift gig with us, so he's coming on, which is 10 p.m. his time, is about 3 a.m. for us. It's perfect. We've got someone to come on during the night, so we're trying to fill up as much space in that 24 hours as possible. Top guests. The guests won't be about like, what do you think of Pellegrini? We'll be asking people like Sean Weston what it's like why do you leak certain details that you get from West Ham United? We'll be asking ex-West Ham employee, why do you always respond to the negative comments and stuff? So we'll also have the live chat open for the whole 24 hours. So when there's someone on, you can pop your questions in and we will ask them the sensible questions, etc. But are you looking forward to it, Gonzo? It's going to be a bit.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be dipping in and out, having a snooze, having a cup of Yorkshire tea and a malted milk biscuit, mate. I'll be doing it, reading the chat. I'll be asking the tough questions of I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Bob's questions.
Well, Bob, I mean, just a legend, really.
Bob's going to be in the live chat.
Bob will definitely be involved in the charitable 24-hour stream. And I'll tell you what, everybody, you better watch for every single second of the 24 hours. Otherwise, you're lightweights. Call yourself subscribers.
What we will do, obviously you can never watch 24 hours. So what we will do, we're going to do our best to have a schedule before the live stream. So we're going to have a graphic 2 or 3 days in advance where you can see who's going to be on when, etc. What we'll also do is in the description, when someone's been on, we'll edit the description. So it'll say from 1 hour 15 minutes to 1 hour 59 minutes, ex-West Ham employee was on. So if you want to watch the ex-West Ham employee section, you can go and watch it. And also what we're going to do eventually is download it and then we'll put up Dave Walker's video, for example. We'll put up the Dave Walker section on the forum channel. So we might get 10 videos on this channel over a space of 3 or 4 days, all from the live stream. So you don't have, obviously no one's going to watch all 24 hours, but we're going to try and make it as viewable as possible for people on playback, etc., etc. But if you can join us live, 31st of May, we're going live in the evening, right through 24 hours live stream, and hopefully we can raise a little bit of money for Isla Caton as well, because that's the main thing. We raise a little bit of cash for Isla, and it's going to be crazy. But Gonzo, is there anything else you wish to add?
No, I think we have spoken for 2 hours, which, of course, in the wider scheme of things, with what's planned, is not very much. But over the last 2 days, we've done over 2 hours. So I think we've covered most West Ham topics, which we probably haven't. There'll probably be more questions.
Well, it's good practice from the 24-hour live stream, just another 12, multiply that by 12 and we're there. We're getting there. We're warming people up. 2 hours, well, turn into 24 hours. But yeah, it'll be good. But anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. You can't all have subscribed to both channels. So there's about 5,000 people missing.
Someone's skiving. There's 4,000 people skiving, aren't there, really? By 4,000 or 5,000 people. What are you doing?
Be like Bob.
Be like Bob.
Bob is committed. Bob has subscribed to both. He's probably liked the video as well already. Bob,
he will do in a minute, yeah.
Bob's a hardcore Hammers chat fan. I love Bob. Go on, Bob. Up the Bob. But anyway, Gonzo, I shall see you, I don't know when, but tomorrow night, Friday night, on both channels, there is an end of season review where we're doing Hammer of the Year, favourite moment of the season, sign of the season, 3 other questions. On this channel, there'll be Hammerette time with...
Gonzo dancing with the hammerettes, doing the old pom-poms and all that.
Yeah, and then on the other channel, myself, Gonzo, Charlie, etc., etc. So pop back Friday night, loads of videos, loads of content coming up, and we shall see you very soon. Drop a like on the video, enjoy, subscribe if you're around here. We'll see you in a bit.